Welcome to the Playing Drum Fills section of the drumming system. Now you might be wondering, why do we play drum fills? Where do we play drum fills? How do we play drum fills? Let me explain. Well, first of all, a drum fill is quite the opposite of a beat. We've been learning quite a few different beats throughout this system. What we want to do now is start adventuring around the toms, the cymbals, bass drum, and the hi-hat. Basically, what a drum fill is it might be played at the end of a section, maybe at the end of a 4-bar pattern, or at the end of an 8-bar pattern, maybe at the end of a 12-bar pattern. Now the reason for this is, especially in a song, it's really to release musical tension. Because if I just kept playing the beat consistently the same throughout the whole entire song, I'm just going to sound like a drum machine. Now, what you'll start to notice as you're learning more about music is there's going to be verses, choruses, and bridge sections in a song. You could also have sections where there's a guitar solo, a bass solo, maybe a section where the whole band drops out, maybe just the bass player plays. Usually at the end of these sections, when we want to come back into another part that we've already played or setting up a brand new section, this is another great place for a drum fill. Now, drum fills can be 1 bar long. Drum fills can be half a bar long. Drum fills can be 1 beat long, 2 beats long, 3 beats long. Drum fills could be as long as 8 bars, or even longer, almost like mini solos. It really depends on the song. There's some songs out there where it's like, wow, is the drummer doing a mini solo or is he doing a really long fill? Well, it's almost the same at some points. The first thing we need to do when we're understanding drum fills is have a good knowledge of rhythm. The better knowledge of rhythm that we have, the more we're going to be able to apply around the drums. Understanding all the different note values, quarter notes, eighth notes, triplets, 16th notes, 16th note triplets, 32nd notes, all those will apply to drum fills. A lot of the time, we want to make sure we're playing the proper fill that fits that style of music. For example, if I'm playing in a rock band, I want to make sure that I'm playing good, heavy rock fills. If I'm playing in a jazz band, I want to make sure that I'm doing jazz fills. If I'm playing in a double bass band, all kinds of hard hitting, I'll make sure I want to play some hard hitting fills, and so on and so on. Now, as you advance through this project, you're going to notice that you might be able to start exploring some different possibilities of drum fills. You might be playing an 8th note rock beat, and as opposed to playing an 8th note rock fill, maybe we could play a triplet fill for some contrast. That's not always a bad thing. It's kind of cool to hear a drummer play an 8th note rock beat and then do a triplet fill. We'll show you some of those throughout the system as well. We're going to adventure around the toms, the snare drum, open hi-hats, choking the crash cymbal, playing the ride cymbal bell, various crashes, the bass drum, you name it. We're going to adventure all over the place with drum fills. Now, if there was one book out there on drum fills and every drum fill that a drummer could play, it would be over 10,000 pages long with about 50 exercises per page. If you ever see that book, make sure you let me know where I can get it. In the drumming system, we're going to demonstrate over 150 drum fills. Now that's a lot, considering that probably throughout the night, if you're playing with a band, you're doing 20 songs, you might only need an average of 50 fills. But they may not have to be extremely difficult. A drum fill also does not mean that you have to go crazy around the drums just because you have a chance to play a fill. Sometimes the simpler the better. Some of the greatest drum fills that are played simple are played by drummers like Steve Gadd and Bernard Purdie. Now you might listen to some great progressive rock drummers like Neil Peart and Mike Portnoy playing all these wild and crazy fills, which definitely suits the music, which is what I was talking about earlier, that you want to play the proper fill for the proper style. If I go to my top 40 gig and I bring my double pedal and 3 China cymbals and 7 splashes, and I start doing fills with that, I'm probably going to get some funny looks. Because the chances are, on that gig, I'm not playing for drummers, I'm playing for people who want to hear popular music. So keep in mind that sometimes, keeping it simple is definitely the way to go. If you get a chance to go crazy with fills, hey, great, join a band and do that. But what we're going to do is we're going to go through the whole entire system here with all the different fills, starting off very basic and getting more and more advanced. Once I demonstrate some of these fills, please feel free to take the idea that I show you and move it around somewhere else around the drums. Just because I might go 1, 2, 3, 4 around the kit, snare, small tom, mid tom, floor tom, doesn't mean that you can't go mid tom, snare, floor tom, small tom. So you can start inventing your own fills with the rhythms that I'm going to show you. So let's take a look at how to play drum fills.